So with the 10th anniversary, you may have seen the event where you can claim some free items. You can find it just in your calendar here, and viewing the details, you may see a progress bar and then the rewards in relation to that bar. So on the first day, you're able to obtain a title. And if you aren't aware, you need to make sure you're doing the Protector's Speech, which is this when you go to your queues, the event. Queue up to this, complete it, and you'll gain every day the progress on this bar. If you get to 5 days, you'll also get 30 days of VIP. Pretty neat. But again, we only have 3 days left here, 4 days. So you still have enough time, if you haven't been doing it, to pick up this legendary companion choice pack. You'll be able to access it by going through the home page via claim valuables, and in the promo tab you should see both the title and the legendary companion choice pack if you haven't already claimed them. Now, claiming them, they'll be put on the character of which you obtain it. However, you will still be able to have that chance to move it, since when you have them claimed, they go in your inventory. Just be aware the title will automatically equip on the character you claim it. The pack, however, is account bound, so I can move it between my characters. Now this pack has a bunch of different options there. 5 different companions or 75 companion upgrade tokens. I want to try assist you guys on which one to choose, or if you should choose any at all. Let's run quickly through each of the companions and how effective they are. So I have each of them here on Mythic, and we've tested their damage. But first, let's have a look at the bonuses they provide us. Mystagogue is going to give fortification. You can get that from much cheaper companions elsewhere. Just when you're browsing the auction house, you can have it sorted there with companions, and when you right click them you can see which purple power they're going to give you, and you won't have to get this companion upgraded in order for it to give you its maximum benefit. You just need to have a mythic companion summoned and it will give you the highest bonus. So I'm going to skip over those for the rest of the companions as they have nothing unique. There are alternatives that much cheaper. But he has the offensive power of crit severity and combat advantage. I don't think it's all too useful, as you will generally be, as a damage dealer, wanting to aim for, if you're in boss fights, the Minsk in your defensive power, the Neverwinter Knight, the Batiri, and then your Tamed Raptor. I had originally here set up for just solo content, which you might want to as well, and that's where it would be useful to have like the Mystagogue power. You could have him here for some stats, the Raptor as well if you're solo. You'd want to have some stats instead, and the same with like Minsk. And that's where the Mystagogue can be in handy. Only in solo content, to be honest. If you're min-maxing, he's not too great. But yeah, for damage dealer, he's good because crit severity and combat advantage. Then you have the Lich, and he's pretty much best in slot for tanks. He'll give you that reduction to your incoming damage of 7.5%. If you're a tank, have this, put it in one of your defensive powers, and it's pretty much the best out there outside of the awareness from the Feral Velociraptor, which you can't really find a group using that. Unfortunately, they didn't bring it back for this Jubilee. Then the Pseudo Dragon, we can see has just got the utility power there. It's just going to, on a chance, give you some stamina when you're using your Atwells. I don't see him as all too great. You're better off with just defensive stats than that bonus. And then the Abyssal Chicken. Whenever you kill an enemy, you have a 15% chance to summon Abyssal Chicken for 10 seconds, and then a 20-second cooldown. A bit of a gimmick. Again, you're much better off just having stats here instead, so I'd hard pass on that. The Icosahedron Ion Stone has a bunch of movement speed. I guess that's useful if you're running content where everything's trivial to kill and you just want to get through it really quickly. Then having some movement speed can be nice. So then, to cover the tests of how effective they are, we check against one target. And the best one out of this pack is going to be the Pseudo Dragon. He has nearly 40,000 DPS, which puts him in like 9th spot there. You can access this document for yourself in the description below of this video, and any other video. I'll usually have the link there. Then we check Mystagogue in single target, and well, that's not exactly his forte since he's a multi-target companion, so his DPS is pretty poor. Then you have the Lich. He also is a multi-target companion, but he's a good bit better than Mystagogue. He's mixed, he's got some single target, some AoE, but still, compared to the top, he's definitely not great. And then the Abyssal Chicken, who is also mixed. Gonna do some single target damage and some AoE damage. DPS in single target is overall not bad. 60th spot, 27,500 DPS. But now we've got to check them out for AoE. How effective are they at killing groups of enemies? So here we'll just summon these dummies here and see how quickly they can kill all 6 of them. But before we do that, let's mention the Icosahedron Ion Stone. It's an Ion Stone, it's just going to give you a passive buff. They're called Augment Companions, and this one in particular is going to give you a bonus to your critical strike, combat advantage, and power. And this will be enhanced with your combat enchantment. You can see right there, if it's an augment, you'll gain 7,500 to each of those bonus stats. So this Augment Companion is giving nearly 10,000 stats to each of these. 10,000 crit strike, combat advantage, and power. So it will depend. If you look at me right here, we're ending up with just a bunch of red numbers. Anyway, this is just a test build, so ignore that. But those red numbers means you're wasting stats. We're wasting over 9,000 critical strike rating there. It has 0 effect. And power, we're wasting a bunch there as well. You just need to be aware of that. And currently in endgame content, if you're min-maxing your build, you're going to have far more of these ratings than you need, ending up with a bunch of red numbers, especially with gear of late, which just gives a lot of ratings. So yes, it can be a useful companion to give you those stats, but the only real people who will need those stats is people who don't have gear that give the stats, and that'll be like tanks. If you're a healer, it's not going to be so useful unless you really are new, and the same as a DPS. If you're really new and don't have good gear that gives you good stats, like this gear is pretty garbage, but if you don't have like all the enchantments and insignias, then you will miss stats. And so Ion Stone and Augment Companion can boost the stats to get them higher and give you more effectiveness, especially for AoE content, since these days AoE companions are doing pretty poorly, especially when you compare your own damage to them. So going back to the AoE companions, we have like the Abyssal Chicken, then we have Lich, and we have Mystagogue. The Pseudo Dragon is pretty much all single target, so it'll depend on the fight, how many adds you're fighting, how well you can do. But focusing just on the AoE damage companions, we have the Abyssal Chicken, and it does alright. 14th spot out of the ones I've tested here. Then the Lich, just above that actually, but I will say the Abyssal Chicken is a bit better, especially when enemies are spread out, because his swarm ability can just hit a lot of targets up to that radius of 25 feet. And then the Mystagogue down there, 20th position at about 21,000 DPS. These guys are all pretty close to each other. You won't notice a big difference between them other than their specific powers, how well they do. Like Xuna, she's pretty good at just hitting targets regardless of where they are, but she's not going to upscale her damage very well, versus something like Mystagogue with an area where it doesn't really matter how many guys are around him, he's going to be able to hit them all. Same with the Regis. Shatterkai Witch, the more grouped up the targets are, the better damage she can do against them all. So they're really situational, so just be aware, these are just the dummy tests. They will vary depending on the content, the position of the enemies, etc. So ultimately, what should you be choosing from the pack? Well, I'm personally just gonna stick it in my bank. If I am having a tank character which needs the Lich, I'll take that. And then otherwise, Pseudo Dragon I have already, Abyssal Chicken's readily available and not the best at anything. Icosahedron Ion Stone, I have another pack like this, but again, Augment Companions right now are just not good. If they change Augment Companions to give percentage stats, so these percentages instead of the ratings over here on the left side, then they could fit very well. If they're giving like 10%, that's a 30% total. That would be pretty handy, and that could make up for not having a striker companion. But we'll see. So for now, for me, it's just going to sit around in my inventory and I'm not going to use it. So it's mainly just going to boost new players. And that's about it. Massive thank you again to all these channel members for their added support. And we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.